Welcome to the MBVS show. Boom, boom, bam! I'm your host, Mark Hayford, podcast author, all around awesome guy, great dresser, and we're here talking mental wellness with 4 rock stars. Let's go all the way down south first with the palm trees, cool breeze. She's a podcaster. She is an author. She does a mean, lean Celine Dion. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Barb Heller. Woo! 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 Everybody's favorite neuroscientist. When she's not yelling at her husband, she's changing brains and saving lives. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our favorite professor, Haley's Comet, Dr. Haley Nelson. West Coast, West Coast, West Coast. What's up? TEDx speaker, voiceover artist, Emmy Award winner, Tasia Valay. What? Oh, Tasia Valaysia, I almost called you. I almost made you
you could call me Tasia Malaysia.
Tasia Valaysia. Nice Tasia Valenza. Woo!
Woo! Woo! Just call me. Doesn't matter what you call me, baby.
From the Big Apple. From the Big Apple, baby. We got a man who's been in mental wellness for over 30 years, ladies and gentlemen. About to be a 5-time author, trauma, bereavement expert, better dresser than me, lots of books, looks like fried, spelled like free. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Norman Free.
That was fun.
I think I hurt my kidney.
But you give it 100%, babe. You give it 100%.
Well, that's all I got. So I'll see you guys next week. Hey, if you're here, welcome back. This is a show we've been putting together. We've all met each other on this app called Clubhouse. Everybody plays a different part in mental wellness. That's what we're about. Hey, in 2022, look at me, look at you. We need some encouragement. We need to lift each other up. And we talk about some delicate, some good, some bad, some awesome, some ugly, everything here. If you have a question, you have something that you'd like us to address, reach out. This is only the 3rd pilot episode. We do tape these a couple weeks in advance so far, but guess what? It's going to be rolling soon where you can get at us and you can hit us up on our socials. You know the names. We're out there. We're everywhere. So let's get into this, guys. I want to do pleasantries, but there are, as we're increasing with viewership, there is a lot of questions coming in. So I just want to throw this out. All right. And then I hope everyone's doing well. You all look beautiful and handsome, but let's get right at this. We got work to do. So first question, it's a relationship question. When I was a kid growing up, sometimes maybe I stayed up late in the New York City area and would listen on Sunday nights in the summer. This is Dr. Ruth Westheimer, sexually speaking, you're on the air.
I love Dr. Ruth. She was amazing. She talked about things nobody talked about. You're around and around like a cock.
It was very authentic.
Yes.
I grew up hard and fast with Dr. Ruth, and it was a rough childhood. But I'm going to tell you guys, like Dr. Ruth, we have our first relationship question. So here we go. Okay. And, normally I was reading off cards, but we're upgrading in technology. Okay. So here we go. The first question is, how do I know when it's time to get out of a relationship? I feel my partner pulling away and I am unsure if I'm overthinking things or if it's actually really happening. I have no intention of being rejected. So should I leave? Okay.
Should I stay or should I go? That's a tough one.
MBVS, you're on the air. So what do you guys what do we think?
That's a German Dr. Ruth. I think she was Hungarian.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I'm thinking about this and I'm wondering, the person who's asking seems to be so concerned about what the other person is doing, but I feel like the questions that this person should be asking is about themselves. Do they want to stay? Not, I feel this other person's pulling away. I don't want to be rejected. Don't even think about that. Say, okay, are you pulling away? Do you want to stay in this relationship? Do you want to make it work? And if the answers are yes, then we can talk about some things to kind of spark the excitement again and, get it to be a little bit more exciting and have those conversations. But if you're not all in, who cares if the other person's not all in? If you don't want to be there, then maybe it's time to have that conversation and move on.
I just gotta say here, if the neuroscientist professor thing doesn't work out for you, you could be a relationships coach. Dr. Haley, ladies and gentlemen, that was good.
Said.
That was good.
Dr. Haley, I want to dovetail, if I may, because what you're saying actually has a term in the field of couples therapy, and it's a difficult concept, but it's known as projective identification. It's jargon, but what it means is that sometimes we actually feel the other person slipping away, but that might be ourselves slipping away, blaming it on the other person. And so that's a great, great interpretation, Haley. And so if that is happening, I would want the person to bring it to their own attention that maybe you're not the one that's as happy as you need to be. Now, that's one interpretation. Another could be, yeah, maybe your partner is pulling away, but maybe there's a reason. And instead of running from the potential of being rejected, how about confronting it and saying, let's get this going. I feel some coldness between us. And if you could, as Tasia would say, use great voice, you would be able to find that maybe there's something underneath that. Maybe the partner is pulling away because he or she is going through something personal, but doesn't want the relationship to end. Or maybe the partner isn't pulling away at all, but the person who's experiencing it is going through some of their own insecurities. Open, honest dialogue with your partner is the best way to get to the bottom of it, because I don't believe that resolution equals dissolution of a relationship. Fear of rejection doesn't mean run away. It means face that fear and then place that fear where it no longer assaults you.
Wow.
And it keeps getting more challenging too as your relationship continues to grow. And if they end up having children together, that communication is key. If you can't communicate with your partner, it will not succeed. So practice that now, having those hard conversations and work on it together. If it's something that you both truly want, if it's something that you want to work for, and if not, then put that energy into things that you do both actually truly want. But you have to practice communicating and listening.
I want to say one thing that this reminds me, actually, if you know the Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, I was on his team for a little bit as a volunteer, and he's really remarkable. Say what you will, he's a spitfire. He says very controversial things, but he once analyzed Tiger Woods' relationships. And if you remember, Tiger Woods was married, like he was either in relationship or married like 10 different times. It's a really wonderful view of inside someone's psychology. And what he said, and I just thought this was profound, is that he kept picking the same type of woman, right? Like she had blonde hair, gorgeous, and he kept like either divorcing, forgive me, or breaking up with them basically. And when he really analyzed it, he said, this happens with so many people. They just keep picking the same type of person, thinking it'll just get better if I have a different person. And I think he wasn't trying to belittle the women, but what he was trying to do was show that Tiger himself had to go on an internal journey to figure out why he was running away consistently and not going towards and really opening up. And he said that with Tiger, he's been raised to be either a winner or a loser. Like if he misses the ball, right, the golf ball, like a quarter of an inch, he's a failure. And he was always told if he showed his weakness or opened up more, he would be a failure. And I think that's just a profound, I mean, I haven't been married yet. I've been in some relationships, but I know for myself and the little that I've done is that the more I open up, it's scary. And there's layers of trust. And it seems like you're absolutely right, Dr. Haley. People will run or want to run, like Dr. Norman says, when they really need to go towards and open up even more.
That's right. I love that. And I would add to your metaphor that there really is never a hole in one in relationships. It's really okay if you are far away from the green, as long as your partner is comfortable coming over to that area and bringing you to the hole in one.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just
brilliant
a Dr. Norman Nugget, ladies and gentlemen,
so
right
many.
here on MBVS. That's right.
Harville Hendricks. I want to mention that you brought up Harville Hendricks, who's who's like the king of relationship coaching, and he brings up this idea that we do seek out they might smell different, taste different, but it's that same person, because his whole belief is that we are attracted to a compilation of our primary caretakers. 60% the positive things that we love about them, and 40% the negative, percentage-wise. But the negative, unfortunately, is that heat-seeking missile in a room of 1,000 that will find the alcoholic or the abandoner, the thing that was uncomfortable but familiar. And that's the part where he says that we want to recreate those circumstances and then fix them with that new person. But if you're unconscious, unfortunately, you go through the same pattern again and again and again. And he talks about getting into the conscious marriage. And for me, I certainly had that pattern in my relationships. I mean, it would just be the same. I was like, he's so different, but I'm still in the same position. I'm abandoned again. And it was only when I read the book for me that light bulb went on, and it was like, this is not love, this is dysfunction. And I'm repeating patterns again and again. So when I met my husband, previous to when we were just starting to date and we were getting closer, I had one of those moments where I felt, he would be late, 20 minutes late or 30 minutes late, and he wouldn't call me. And that's one of my triggers. I get into that state of abandonment. And so for the first time, I was able to say to him, listen, honey, when you were late and you don't call me, and I've asked you many times, here's the thing. My 28-year-old at the time, is slightly annoyed, but my 5-year-old thinks you're dead. Could you, because this is an issue for me, recognize that and call me, because that would help me to feel safe. And he was able to hear that a lot better than when I used to be like, you asshole, you from it. And
Right.
hello, over and over. So he was able to hear that. And the first time we had a big fight, he said, I'm going. And then a minute later before he left, he goes, but I'll be back. And for me, that was so healing. And that was something that, again, a lot of times we get triggered. And that is the time to start getting those layers, those unconscious layers, to have those deep conversations, but to recognize that so much of what we're being triggered is very little in the present, and a lot of it's in the past. And so a relationship can be very healing, but most people need to get more conscious about what's being triggered and how they can come together. I don't know. That's my experience. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
I want to respond by saying that because you are our voiceover person, our expert, I believe what you're saying is we have an inner child inside of us as well as who we are as adults. And you're saying, let's give the inner child a great voice, who may not have been able to speak when they were younger, but now can say, hey, this is how I feel. This is what I need. And hopefully our needs will be met.
Beautifully said.
Wow. Unbelievable. I'm just going to say this. So many takeaways from what all of you just said. And what I got from that is that Tiger Woods is a player. That's what I got.
MVP.
What I got is that he's looking to work this out. You see,
Yeah.
I was always he's looking to work this out, but you need to go see Dr. Norman.
Across the board, we are trying to figure it out, and we're letting go of some of our our family of origin issues, so that we can take healthier things into our family of creation.
Well, we run into these paradigms, and a lot of these paradigms were created when we weren't even realizing that they were being wired in our brains for us, Dr. Haley, right? So, I mean, it's just about,
got it.
being aware and then rewiring it and fixing that NLP all day. All right, whatever. We got to move on, though, and great answers, great input from everyone. This next one, we're taking a different turn out of relationships. Listener asks or says that my dad is sick. Don't know what the outcome of this is going to be. Mom says I should spend more time with him. Quote, you never know what will be, she says. But what do I say to him? We never really had a close connection, and now it's time to give it a try. Any ideas on what I should do?
Ding. Okay. So one of the reasons I moved to back to Florida, my hometown, after 20 years of being in New York and LA, acting, writing, producing, is because my dad was blessed with Parkinson's, as well as he's going through chemotherapy right now for the last year. And he's in the early stages of MDS. So what I had to do was, I had two choices. I could be here and kind of see him from afar, because we have an interesting history. And I have some abandonment stuff with him, and, like lots of fighting as a kid, and it wasn't easy, that I feel like I've healed a lot from. So I could do that, or I could actually go really in. And I decided to study with him once a week, the Torah. I'm Jewish, and it's supposed to be like, I used to listen to Rebbetzin Youngreis, also from Hungary, who used to say, it's all in the pages, just open up the book. And there's something really healing about opening up a spiritual text, no matter what background you come from, what you want to start studying that is spiritual. It's not just about money or your goals, but like something just to heal you, right? And we have been once or twice a week sitting with this beautiful text, and then other books, like psychologists who are also rabbis that are talking about these texts. And my dad is learning Judaism for the first time, and I get to see it through his eyes, and he's seeing me as a teacher, and this is healing him, and I'm seeing him as a teacher, and we're really learning from each other on this really high level. And I get to ask him things about when he was a kid, and I'm learning things about him that I never would have known, because we're just sitting with a book and talking about big spiritual things. So I would highly recommend that you pick a spiritual text, not a phone, not on a video, not an audio. Sorry, Deja. I know audio can be really helpful. Something you can read together to give great voice to. Use your mind. And then, like, I'm using all of us right now, and what Dr. Norman would say is really get closer and ask questions and engage with the person, even if you're a little bit afraid to do it, because I'm telling you, as someone who survived a lot of abuse and interesting things as a kid, I have, and this doesn't work for everybody, and maybe you need to do it in smaller doses, but my dad is healing. His numbers are increasing in the right ways. And he says that it's really because of what we're doing every week. The other thing I would say is when someone's sick, according to our Jewish Kabbalists, we learn that when you go to actually visit, you sit with a person, even if, as long as you're masked up, you're doing all the things that you need to do, or even on Zoom, but it's better in person. They see your eyeballs. You take away 1/60th of the disease. And I believe it wholeheartedly. So if you do the math, if I visited my dad once or twice a week for the past year, it kind of makes sense that he actually is healing and improving, right? So I mean, it's in my book. I think COVID forced a lot of us to go home a lot more and actually be with our parents and respect them, even if there's stuff under the rug. You don't have to go through all of it to actually heal. You can start something new. So that's my answer.
It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Wow.
Tasha, can I jump in? Do you mind? Because I want to hear from you about this as well. I just wanted to say, in terms of what you're talking about, Barb, you're making me realize that every one of us who's uncomfortable getting close to someone in our family at these most vulnerable times can benefit from some form of a prop, right? Whether it's reading together or watching a show together, and even sitting in silence but sharing the same thing, like when you stare at a beautiful painting together. What's happening is that you're experiencing something from each other's perspective. And then when you ask about it, you're becoming vulnerable. You're saying, what do you think about this? And that level of vulnerability will bring people close. And I'm going to say one last thing, which is that sometimes no words are necessary. I was working with a beautiful young man who wanted to get close to his father, but didn't really know how to talk to him. And so the two of them, while his father would sit on Saturdays and read the New York Times, the boy would sit and read some book next to his father. And every time his father would turn the page and he heard some kind of a guffaw, he felt as if there was a communication there. And after an hour, he left and he said to me, that was one of the nicest conversations I ever had with my dad. Because sometimes the love that germinates between the two doesn't have to have words, but has to have that physical connection and energy. So I think that's a beautiful thing.
Wow. I love this because I learned so much. And whoever has a dog, doesn't matter. We're doing real life, so it's all good. Wow. Okay.
It's me. My dog is barking underneath
The dog's
my
giving
desk.
great voice. It's all good.
Yeah, he's giving great bark, and he's kind of annoying, but I love him. But it's beautiful, and I will say that I did share in my TED Talk, give great voice, that tone and intention really can be the difference in the words that we say. And particularly, I talk about how we play our roles well or not when we give great voice. To give great voice means to be able to move, touch, and impact with our voices. And I had a very challenging, beautiful relationship with my mom, complicated as many. And she was dying, and I said I was sorry, which was really helpful, when she was passing. But at the same time, I also recognized that she had asked for forgiveness for so many years, and I held on to that tight, kind of judgmental, critical voice. And we really, really wish in hindsight that when I was able to forgive her, I truly was able to express that through my voice, so that I wasn't so impatient with her and I wasn't so, again, judgmental, where even though I said how much I loved her, she could feel it in my voice that, that there was still that edge to me. And so she passed. And that's the one regret that I have, that I really wasn't able to fully give her the love that she needed and the compassion, because I held on to that anger. So I would say forgiveness is the key. this young man, and for all of us, when they're gone, to say you're sorry, and to have that is more challenging. And I wish I could have truly forgiven her. And they're doing studies, I'm sure you could speak on that, both of you, of how important forgiveness is for yourself and for that relationship. So I would encourage one to really think about, again, maybe asking their parent about their childhood, because so often we hear, my mother's childhood compared to mine was 10 times worse. And when I was able to reflect on that, I was so much more loving and compassionate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that, again, can build the relationship by understanding what make them the way they are and have that love, and then add in a healthy dose of forgiveness.
So what I would say to that, Tasia, is that forgiveness is an act of creation. And what a beautiful thing to do at the point of a life that's beginning to end, to create something new. And when you create through forgiveness, what you're doing is you're rising above, and you're saying, I bestow upon you the mercy of recognizing some of the things that you have done came from your own suffering, and they weren't personal. And at the same time, if you can bestow upon me your mercy and forgive me, I'm giving that person a chance to do something beautiful in the end of their life that they may not have been able to accomplish during their life. Every moment matters, and forgiveness at those moments can make it so, so special.
And the other thing I want to say, which I wasn't able to say based on what you guys both just said so beautifully, I'm so moved, is that I believe, because I study so many religious texts about this in so many different faiths, that we as a soul choose our parents. I know you guys keep saying our family of origin and our unchosen family, but I really do believe that I once I learned this, it was a game changer for me, that I actually chose both of my parents. And I chose them because I knew, my soul knew, that in order to get closer to my actual purpose in life, I was going to have to pass the class of both of my parents. Their curriculum was already set up for me. And it was really, really important that I actually pass the class. And
Right.
I can't tell you, I've won some awards for films that I've done. And I felt like, oh God, what am I doing this year and a half? Like, okay, well, I was able to sit with my dad. This may be the thing that gets me to my soulmate that I needed
Right.
in order to, because I had so much anger that was built up. And over time, through therapy and Tony Robbins and doing, Landmark and a bunch of cool coaching and experiences, I'm like, oh, I don't have anger anymore. It is, I don't have any, I really don't, my heart is clear. It's pure now. And when I think of my dad, all I want to do is cry, because there's been so much joy that we've experienced, and I made the time for him. And it's like a balm. It's a salve that has solved part of the anger that was sitting there residually on my heart. So I know I'm not a doctor like Dr. Norman, but, and I can't advise you that, like, if you've been severely abused by someone, go sit in their presence once a week. I can't tell you to do that, but there are ways that you can find. And if you do like Norman, and take counsel with them, it's possible that you'll find a way that you can go to a middle place with it and really spend the time to heal your heart. And like Tasia, you can learn from her, forgive them while they're here, and sit with them while they're here in a safe way that can actually heal your heart.
And to speak in terms of your language of spirituality, Barb, we understand that in the Arabic and the Semitic languages, the word for miracle and the word for test are very closely connected, which means to me that inside of every test is a miracle waiting to be freed.
Ooh, should I tell that to my students?
No, not that kind of a test.
Not a multiple choice. Oh, okay. That would be a really good one. They're coming in, I didn't study hard enough. Well, there's a miracle about to happen.
You better
Johnny,
hope for one.
Dr. Norman said.
Johnny got an 85. It's a miracle. Holy mackerel.
So I was going to briefly say, for anybody who's listening who thinks that this is way too big for them to even wrap their head around, that again, baby steps. It's all a process. You don't have to go from really disliking your parent and hearing this diagnosis to the next day spending half of your day there with them, right?
Correct.
You work your way up to it. Maybe it's writing them a letter and seeing if you can communicate with written word, and maybe pick up the phone. And you can do Zoom, you can do all these things and do what feels right for you and your heart and your soul and your mind and your body, right? Listen to your whole being to see what's going to resonate most with you. Because I think the reason why this patient's or this viewer's mother was suggesting, okay, you have to spend more time with your father. I don't even know if she was thinking, oh, this will be good for your dad. I think she was probably thinking this will be good for you.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
All right, great hot take. We normally have been averaging about 2 questions. I want to softball a third one up. And the only reason I think we can get this in is because we addressed this on our first pilot episode. Someone's kind of asking something similar. So I figure if we can quickly just kind of pull it in, we can help this person out. Question is, I've been having what I would call panic episodes. I thought it was a heart attack, but my doctors say I'm pretty healthy. I get sweaty and scared, can't seem to move or do anything for like 20 minutes. What's going on? How do I make it go away? I know Dr. Haley talked about some stuff. Tasia talked about some stuff. What do you guys got for this person? And we got to go quick on this one.
Time, 20 minutes. If it's a panic disorder, it will pass. And that's one of the things that if you can, in those moments, try to remind yourself that it is a panic attack and it will go away. It's scary. It's terrifying. I've had them in the past and I literally felt like I was dying and thought I was going to have to go to the emergency room. But by the time I got to the car, it had passed. So it's one of those things where there are tips and techniques, but if you haven't practiced them, you know, like the breathing exercises that we referred to get you into that parasympathetic, more relaxed state. It's great when you've mastered that to be able to say, okay, yes, I've identified this is a panic attack. I need to practice my breath and be mindful and grounded. But in the moments, it's very, very challenging to get there. So practice it when you're not in that state of panic so that when it happens again, or if it happens again, you have those tools ready to go.
And if you guys want to go, sorry, go ahead, Dr. Norman.
If I may, I want to add to that there's a 3-step process that I call face the fear, which means confront what it is that's you're feeling, then embrace that, right? So meaning, okay, I'm going to let this happen. Then trace that fear in your body. What is happening to my heartbeat, to my sweatiness? Notice the body, investigate that, and it moves it from emotion to physical. And then I should say, fourth, place that fear where it no longer defines you. It is here. It will leave and you will be fine.
Wow. Love that. Love that. People love bullet points and nuggets, and that was a nice little roadmap. Boom, right? And if you guys go back to season 1, episode 1, just a couple episodes back, because we're just getting this show off the ground, Tasia gave a great demonstration of breathing and the way to do it, and my whole family was like practicing the living room breathing. Thank you, Tasia. So I was like, so there you go.
I have one more thing. I only because I rewatched this wonderful documentary called Earthing. And it talks about how when we connect to the earth with our bare feet, which we never do as a society anymore, that there's negative ions that really help to ground us, literally ground us. Now, not everyone can run and get their feet in the earth, but it was a reminder that we go through our day after day, never ever touching the earth. And it's the same thing. Again, the sun gives us energy. The earth gives us energy. Anything connecting to nature gives us this wonderful grounding energy. And if you can find a way to get yourself into some nature, that's another thing that also can help you reconnect. Would you agree, Doctor?
Brilliant. It's perfect because you're also impacting the neurons, the neurotransmitters in the brain that will absolutely engage the system to calm down.
And I want to say one other thing really quick. When I'm in the moment, because sometimes it's hard to do these things when you have a panic attack in front of an audience or a group of students, and my mind creeps up on me when I'm like feeling great, got all my magnesium going on and my juices and all that. So if you're a performer or you're in front of people or you're giving a presentation at work and this happens, very quick tip, put your hand on your heart while you're speaking, and you can even like massage it, or if that feels weird or people are watching you and you're on Zoom, you can put it on your legs and you can actually ground your own thighs. This is what I do. And I just kind of like, I'm there like a mommy, just like saying, it's okay. Because I think the tendency is people are like, I am having this thing and I want to get rid of it. I'm having a negative thought and I want to kill it and run from it and just demolish it. And what what everyone just said basically is if you are there for it and you embrace it and you love it, it will go away. It's like a little baby having a panic, when they fall or they get a scrape, it's like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. so healthy to do that. And when the mom or any parent, father, whatever, goes over and hugs the baby, all of a sudden it lessens within 30 seconds. So we have to do that for ourselves.
It's great stuff. It's great stuff. Lot of info in this one, guys. Fantastic job. Let's land a plane. Round robin, 30 seconds. Final thoughts, little words of inspiration, encouragement, anything that's on your mind. Barb, why don't you fire us up?
I would say I feel like everything we talked about today is heart-centered. So just whenever you can, put your hand on your beautiful heart and take a deep breath in, even throughout the day. Breathe into it. We were created from breath, human beings. So the more you can breathe and clear that heart, even imagining it and visualizing it of just embracing whatever's there and letting go and releasing any toxic stuff, you can't lose. It's just a helpful thing to do.
Love it. Tasia, what do you got for everybody?
Well, I just would love to, again, breath is everything. And I love that. Forgiveness for yourself. Every day I work on forgiving myself because I have something to forgive myself for. And I ask my kids for forgiveness and my husband. So I'm really into recognizing that I have to be self-kind. And then also when I need to ask for it, I do. So that's something that, it feels much more comfortable than when my ego is in check. I'm like, I'm right. That it really helps me to stay humble and stay connected. But mostly I have to forgive myself regularly. And that's something that I encourage everybody else to do too. And that goes back to then putting yourself on your heart. And I forgive myself. I love myself. I am perfectly imperfect, as we all are.
Love that. Love that. Dr. Haley, what do you got?
So I was just thinking about when I was a child, one of my biggest insecurities was my smile. I have a very big gummy smile and I was always embarrassed by it. And now it's one of my favorite features and it's the thing that I love to present anytime I meet a new person or speak to anybody. And not only that, when I speak to myself, I put a smile on and there's this process known as the facial feedback effect. And it actually does trigger positive, happy emotions. So even when you're feeling lousy, just put a smile on your face. Your family or kids may think you're losing it, but it's okay because inside you are going to actually neurochemically, and we can see this with science, that you are going to start feeling better and your brain is going to be healthier and happier as well. So everyone practice breathing, taking your shoes off and smiling.
I love it. I love that. Dr. Norman, land a plane. What do we got?
I would say that I think today's theme with all of our questions has to do with the concept of connection, whether it's a relationship that we feel is faltering or someone we love who is failing in health or ourselves just falling down in our fears. I think what's most important is to maintain connection with somebody, because with that, we will discover we're not really ever alone in the universe and we'll survive anything with the power of love.
And we love all of you for checking us out here. Every single week, we're bringing MBVS, mind, body, voice, soul, right? And we're doing it all in the name of mental wellness. So, hey, thank you for taking some time with all of us and for opening up your iPads, your phones, and your homes. So for Barb, Tasia, Dr. Haley, Dr. Norman, we got to get out of here. We got galaxies to conquer.
Thank you, Mark.
We will see you all next week.
Gratitude.
Love you guys.